Good afternoon, everybody. Please have a seat.
This is the Obama administration's attempt to regain some control over the ever-growing spying scandal made public by Edward Snowden.
I will work with Congress to pursue appropriate reforms to Section 215 of the Patriot Act, the program that collects telephone records.
He's open to changes for that one part of the spying programs, the one that focuses on recording the data of telephone records in the U.S. Not mentioned any talk of curbing what they are doing overseas or changing how they monitor or copy internet traffic. The most specific proposal, a possible change to the secret court that approves the spying, adding a kind of defense attorney. Right now, only government lawyers argue before the judges. Last year, they asked for 1,789 warrants. Not one was denied. 40 were modified, but still approved. Even in this proposal, the president left himself an out.
So specifically, we can take steps to make sure civil liberties concerns have an independent voice in appropriate cases by ensuring that the government's position is challenged by an adversary.
What he said is that he might make changes to what happens in this building when it comes to keeping track of American records, but he insists the programs are needed to keep Americans safe, and he won't stop them. It's expected that these stories are going to continue to leak out, so the president has about another month to convince the American people what he is doing is okay, because that's when Congress comes back to Washington, where some have promised they will take up the issue again and try to curb the power of the NSA. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, Brett Max Kaufman is a fellow in the American Civil Liberties Union's National Security Project. He said that it's too early to draw any conclusions from Obama's speech.
We're certainly encouraged by the president's public engagement with many of the criticisms that critics of these programs have been lodging since they were instituted, but certainly since Mr. Snowden's revelations. As well as the president's acknowledgement that many of these programs do infringe the privacy of Americans and people abroad as well. But any real evaluation of what the president said today really has to wait. He made some promises about increased transparency as well as reforms to both the programs and the process under which they work in the FISA court, the secret court in Washington that approves many of these applications for surveillance. But it really will depend on the details of those reforms and what is actually accomplished in the process that follows these remarks today. And I think the most significant thing that he said was acknowledging that individual privacy is something that the country cares about, and that trusting the administration is not enough. He needs to demonstrate publicly to the country and to the rest of the world that these programs are as confined and safely administered as his defenders have been saying in the past 2 months.